Voilà.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marcel. It's really a pleasure to be here today. And we are very proud at Innovaud to be supporting, together with the State of Vaud, to be supporting this event. So Innovaud is supporting innovation projects at startups and SMEs, and startups are also a way to manage the applied part of applied machine learning. And I'll give some examples of that. So, as Marcel said, this region is really expanding and is very dynamic in terms of innovation. Last year, we had almost $500 million Swiss franc, $500 million invested in startups in the region alone, not the whole of Switzerland, only this region. And this puts us in the 6th position in Europe, behind, of course, London, Paris, Stockholm, and so on. So this is going great. Just a short reminder about Vaud. Vaud is kind of a state in Switzerland, one of the biggest. We have 10% of the population, and we have the most diversity. We have a third of the population that's made of foreigners, and it's pretty important, this diversity, as you know, in innovation and in startups. Also, a large part of the Vaud population is working at universities or technical schools, and this is also a good talent pool. Now, these universities, just in a slide, you have, of course, EPFL as a major source of high-tech innovation, but also École d'ingénieurs d'Yverdon on top, and we can mention the CHUV, the University Hospital, very important to combine health with digital in many cases. So what do we do to contribute to startups, to help them succeed? There is a ranking in Switzerland that's coming up every year called the top 100 of the startups. And Vaud is doing pretty well most of the time. And last year in September, we had, for the first time, more than half of the top 10. So you see in the top 10 startups of Switzerland, we have 6 that are based in Vaud, and actually the 6 are from EPFL. It's not always the case. And you see at 6th position, Gamaya, whom you just heard the founder, Joseph. So what do we do to support startups? There are 4 things. There is, of course, financing. You need money. And we have some pretty unique tools in Canton de Vaud. One is via the FIT Foundation, Foundation for Innovation and Technology. So these are loans or grants of 100K up to $500,000 Swiss franc, loans to companies that allow them to go further. And also support from the Office of Economic Affairs of the State of Vaud, 100,000 Swiss franc. That's a grant, so no need to reimburse it. So that's pretty cool to start and accelerate startups. Second support is, of course, coaching. Well, maybe not of that kind, but we have about 80 specialists via InnoSuisse and also via Platine, which is a network of coaches of all kinds in the Swiss Romand part. What you need is also to establish the company someplace. And for that, there are 6 science parks in the area of Canton de Vaud. You know probably EPFL Innovation Park for EPFL. But in the domain of ICT and digital, there is also Y Park in Yverdon, quite strongly promoting and hosting companies in cybersecurity and trust domain. And of course, a number of co-working space. I just mentioned a couple of them. One of them is actually an accelerator you might know, Mass Challenge, that has been originating in Boston. And you need also communication and networking to meet investors and to recruit talents. So what we do is participate in events like this one and also organize some of them, about 50 per year. So there's ample opportunities for startups to go out and meet investors and potential partners. Success stories also is important. So showing successes, founders. So you find videos that the startups can reuse. If you just type Innovaud on YouTube, for example, you see 30, 40 different examples of what's happening in the region. So now we are over with the support part. I'll tell you about 5 startups that are present here today and that you can visit. And my goal is that you are interested in them. First one is Net Guardians. It's the only one not from EPFL, it's from École d'ingénieurs d'Yverdon. And they are pretty successful fintech that does fraud detection. And that is, they are analyzing bank transactions and try to determine if it's a genuine transaction or if there is something wrong about it. And nowadays, with so many regulations, banks could be doing illegal things without knowing even, because the regulation is so complex. And they've been using now machine learning for about 1 year with great success, because it helps them reduce false positive, which you might understand is pretty important. They are part of Scale Up VAUD, an initiative we launched to support fast-growing companies. There are already 60 employees and present in Singapore, Kenya, Poland, and Switzerland. Second example, Innovaud, an EPFL spin-off that does emotion analysis using machine learning in order to determine if you're tired, if you're happy, if you're angry. And this is applicable to many domains, to marketing, automotive, retail, for example. And one interesting initiative that's being coordinated by Innovaud is the Bonsai project within the H2020 European program. And Innovaud is really the coordinator of 14 different partners. And the aim of the project is really to move the processing of machine learning models to the edge of the network, to connected objects, to sensors, because sometimes there is overload in the cloud, or maybe it's not connectable at the moment. Third example, don't need to spend too much time on it. Joseph presented Gamaya, so go meet them. They are a pretty interesting startup, almost a scale-up, I think, nowadays. And fourth example, Link Along, that just incorporated last month, but is actually basing what they do on about 3 years of work at Professor Haberer's lab. And they do document analytics, taking into account the industry, because the knowledge model can be different given the industry, given the context. And it also has a multilingual capacity. It's very important if you want to determine trends or extract information from diverse documents or social networks, to be able to be multilingual. And final example, maybe the most recent company, L2F, which is a spin-off of the mathematical department. It's the first one I see since I'm doing this. And they do topological and statistical modeling at the learning part of the machine learning. And they are maybe best known because they participated in a Kaggle challenge, I think last November or last fall. And they were first among 1,200 teams. It was about optimizing taxi routes in New York. And they were far ahead of all the others. So they thought, well, we should make a startup out of that. And what they do is really prediction applicable to many domains, HR, retail, and others. So really, I encourage you to go and meet them. And otherwise, you can follow us on Twitter or look at different channels to have information about innovation in the area, which is pretty dynamic. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good conference.